Welcome to another Sad Boys book review. My name is Dusty, and today I will be reviewing Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Yes, we're getting 2 Brandon Sanderson books in a row, maybe even 4 at this rate. And Warbreaker, I went straight into it after Hero of Ages, after letting that digest for a little while. I went straight into Warbreaker, and it was not at all what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, other than just the quality that I feel like Sanderson has shown to me at this point in time in my my reading history with him, and it was very, very enjoyable. I think I can already go ahead and say that I didn't like it as much as the Mistborn trilogy, but that's not an indictment on Warbreaker, because the Mistborn trilogy hit me, I guess, in the perfect way, and it was very good to me that I don't think Warbreaker could have ever stood a chance against it, especially coming off of the Hero of Ages. So for context, I know everybody has their own personal reading order for Brandon Sanderson, and so you're probably wondering, why did I go into Warbreaker after the Hero of Ages? Even Brandon Sanderson has his own, but I'm personally doing publication order. I'm reading through his books in publication order, with one minor exception, because I wasn't taking short stories and novellas into account at first. Otherwise, I would have done The Hope of Elantris after Elantris, but that will be, spoilers, next. But I'm doing publication order. I feel like, if I grew up as a Sanderson fan from 2005 with Elantris, and I read all of his books since then, this is the order that I would have had to have read them in, because I can't read a book that hasn't come out yet. And so with all of these reading lists, everyone's like, oh, start here, read this, read this, read this. And for me, I just feel like the simplest way to do it is just stick with publication order. So that's what I'm doing. So Warbreaker released a year after the Hero of Ages. And it was the next book that he published, so it's the next book that I'm reading. So yeah, it was good. I liked it. I think Brandon Sanderson is known for his magic systems, and I've really enjoyed every single magic system I've encountered in his books so far. Warbreaker might be one of the most unique so far for me. The magic system is run off of colors and breath. As weird as that may sound, and I learning that, I was wondering, how are you going to make this interesting? How are you going to buy me in to this magic system that has a focus on colors and breathing? And I gotta say, he did it. I thought it was a cool magic system. It's not my favorite by any means. I think Allomancy might still be my favorite, but it was just really cool. It was interesting, it was unique, and while I don't feel like it has the same utility, creativity, or, I guess, rule of cool as something like Allomancy or Furukami and from Mistborn, it definitely, like I said, felt the most unique. Your breath, you have the souls inside of you, and you can only get souls from other people. You only have one, with I guess a couple of exceptions that I don't really want to get too deep into the weeds about, but generally speaking, you only have your one soul, and you can use that one soul with your breath if you have the talent to. But you can acquire more souls from more people, and you can willingly give your soul up. It's not tied to your life. So you can give your soul up. You can't use the magic if you don't have your soul, and the more souls you have, the stronger your magic becomes. It's like a tiered system. And the way you spend that magic is by draining the color from an object as you breathe the magic into whatever it is you're trying to do. So that color that you pull suddenly becomes gray, or like a lifeless color. It's very, very interesting. It's very well done. The ways that Sanderson was able to have the characters take advantage of this magic system and use it was insane. I never would have thought about anyone doing anything like this. And it's just very, very cool to see the characters play in the world that he creates. But yeah, the general premise is it's 2 kingdoms at war. And in order to try and avoid open conflict, the smaller of the two kingdoms, King Daedalin sends his... the plan is originally he wants to send his oldest daughter, Vivenna. I'm pretty sure it's Vivenna, not Viviana. I think it's Vivenna. She has been groomed to be the bride of the God Emperor, God King, whatever. I think it's God King of Halandrin, the massive ruling country. However, the rambunctious troublemaker Ciri, the youngest daughter, ends up getting, through a bit of political maneuvering, gets sent in Vivenna's place to become the bride of the God King. And the story from there on follows a myriad of characters. We've got Ciri, who is in Halandrin. We got Vivenna and her storyline, which I don't want to go into for spoiler reasons, but it's a very, very good storyline. It's like if Ciri is the 1A storyline, Vivenna is the 1B storyline. Their storylines are tied together very importantly. They are the two main characters, and it's very good. And then you also have Lightsong, who is one of the gods in the pantheon of the gods of Halandrin. There's a whole thing about how like the gods exist. It's interesting and weird and cool. And he is one of the gods in the pantheon under the God King, and he is not like the others. He questions everything. He's weird. He's goofy, and no one takes him seriously. But in my opinion, he has the best storyline in the book because of his character, his will to question his own godhood, and just the path that he travels. It's fantastic. If it isn't obvious, Lightsong is my favorite character in the book. But Ciri's storyline is also incredibly well written. I love her character. I love all the main characters. The main three, if I'm going to give it that. They all have great stories, and I love the way that all of the stories intertwine and interact with each other. It's just very, very good character writing. Not a huge amount of action in this book up until the very end. Kind of similar to, I think the Final Empire and the Well of Ascension was similar, where a lot of the action was backloaded into the book, which I'm fine with. Similar to the Well of Ascension, this book has a lot of political maneuverings and machinations in the first half and the first like 3/4 or whatever, and then all the action kind of starts building up to the end. And it was very well done. I really enjoyed it. It was very good. I don't know at this point in time with my Sanderson books at this point in time having been Elantris, the Mistborn trilogy, and then Warbreaker, which I will go ahead and say it is at the time of recording already larger than that, what I've read. At this point in time, I think I was really kind of struggling on whether or not I liked Elantris better than Warbreaker. It was kind of in that they're both kind of similar to me. So I really liked it, but it was, if I'm being objective, a step down from the Mistborn trilogy, which is fine. Not everything can be a 10 out of 10, or a 9 out of 10, or a 10 out of 10, as that trilogy was for me. Warbreaker was a nice change of pace. It did take me a little bit of time to really get it hooked into me, like the other ones. I remember I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, I like this book, I'm enjoying it, but it hasn't hooked me yet. So it did take a lot longer than his other 4 books that I read prior for it to hook me, but once it did not let go, and it was a fun romp to the end. And the climax was great, the ending was very entertaining, I enjoyed how that ended up going, and it was a good book. And I don't remember if there's plans for Sanderson to write any more books in this world. Obviously this is still part of the Cosmere, and I've picked up on what I can only imagine are some major implications to the Cosmere as a whole from Warbreaker. I do think it is an important book, especially with the Stormlight Archive. I think there's going to be some ties there. But I don't know if he's ever going to come back to this world. I'd have to look up and see if he ever has any plans to. I know at this point in time, with Wind and Truth out, the next big thing is going to be the next Mistborn trilogy, as well as I think Elantris 2 and 3, and then going back to the Stormlight Archive for the second half of that. But I don't know if there's going to be more Warbreaker, and if there is, I'm going to be very happy about it. If there's not, then that's unfortunate, but it's okay because I'm more invested in Mistborn and the Stormlight Archive personally, and Elantris maybe even for that matter, that world, because it is very cool. I love the world of Elantris. But it would be cool if we got more Warbreaker, or not necessarily like Warbreaker 2, Warbreaker 3, but more stories set in this world with this magic system, with this political climate, this everything going on in it, because this is a very cool world, and it would be unfortunate if it got left by the wayside in favor of the other ones that, granted, are cooler in my opinion, but it still would be unfortunate all the same. But he is one man with only one lifetime, and he can only do so much, so I understand. But with that being said, I am giving Warbreaker an 8 out of 10. Very enjoyable. It's easy to pick up and read. Even if it didn't hook me immediately, it's still an easy read. It's relatively standalone, so you don't need to have read anything prior to Sanderson to read this, to understand it. I read it fifth in my Sanderson collection. It was my 5th book I read of his, and I'm totally happy with that. I thought it was a nice bridge book for me between the Mistborn trilogy and the start of the Stormlight Archive. I think it did a nice job of giving me a minor palate cleanser from going from a pretty big trilogy into a mammoth of an epic. So, yeah, I really liked Warbreaker. I thought it was good. I think anybody that likes fantasy can pick up and read Warbreaker and have a good time. And like I said, you don't need to have any prior Sanderson knowledge or anything read to do it. Just, hey, this looks interesting. I want to read it. Pick it up and read it. And I think you'll have a good time. So, with that, that'll be the end of this Sad Boys book review. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and I will catch you next time. Take care.